But now, for our very last session, we're going to welcome on stage Louis Andrews OVO. How to become the second highest rated European property manager.
1, 2, 1, 2. Marvellous. My name is Louis Andrews. I am the Director and President of OVO Network France, and today I'm going to be closing the day, so thank you everyone for allowing me this honour. And I'm going to be talking about guest reviews and how OVO Network became the second highest rated European property manager. That's a basketballer. The secret of basketball is that it's not about basketball. This is a quote from Isaiah Thomas that we can see here, who won 2 NBA championships with the Detroit Pistons in 1989 and 1990. Now, what he means by this quote, and he said this much later with regards to why and how they managed to win a championship, or 2 championships even, was to basically highlight the fact that yes, you can have a lot of talent and you can have a lot of star players, however, to win, and there's only one winner, well, it's not actually all about basketball. It's about people fitting into their roles and doing what's most needed for the team. How that relates to property management, we'll see by the end. So a quick introduction about OVO Network. So who is OVO Network? So we manage 150 exclusive properties. Those properties are predominantly based in the northern French Alps. However, my marketing director told me yesterday that I should stop saying that and say that we're focused on mountain properties, because we are open to expanding outside of the northern French Alps. We get an average occupancy rate, or at least we did in 2022, of 65%, and our number of direct bookings is at 75%, which is why the Book Direct show was very kind to invite me to talk yesterday as well. This is the type of property that we get and that we list and that we manage with OVO Network. So we're more the high-end type property. Usually they're for groups of people between 8 and 12, but we can go all the way up to 20 different people. There's often extra amenities and extra equipment. So what I mean by that is that you'll have a jacuzzi, a hot tub, a sauna, a swimming pool, a games room, etc., etc., etc. So that's just kind of to give you an idea of the niche and the portfolio which we represent. That's the tagline. Whilst we're at VRWS in Porto last September, there was a talk given by AirDNA, and during that talk we were very pleased to learn that we were the second highest rated European mid-size vacation rental manager on Airbnb, which we had no idea of, so that was a very nice surprise. So that's just to give you a quick idea of, seemingly the quality of the experience and of the stays at an OVO Network property. However, I'll just reiterate the fact that we actually get 75% of our bookings direct. So what you want? So you want transparent property listings. Number 1, do not oversell the property, okay? Really, really important. It sounds again like common sense, but a lot of people try and sell this amazing or non-amazing apartment as if it was, a huge castle in the middle of the countryside. Don't do that, otherwise your guests are going to be disappointed. Make sure the property looks exactly as it does in the photos. I've talked to different property managers who say that they bring in certain furniture to take their photos and then bring them out after the photo shoot is done. Again, don't do that if you want good reviews. Make sure the property's description matches reality. Well, that's really important because, say for example, this is kind of the plum guide approach, which is don't trust real reviews, trust our opinion. What they mean by that is that you need to make sure that the property matches reality, okay? So that means that if there's a road, a busy road underneath your property, make sure you mention that. Don't set yourself up for failure. Make sure that people are aware that, yeah, there may be a road with a lot of cars going by, but that's just something that they're aware of at the time of booking. Because trust is key, and the first hour within arrival is the most important. So what does this mean? Well, it means that if your guest arrives to the property, if there's something that they realize is wrong within the first hour, they're going to start realizing all the other things that are wrong, which you really don't want to do, because basically what's going to happen is that they're going to start scrutinizing every single small detail within your property, which again is something you want to avoid. So really make sure that welcome, that first impression, don't judge a book by its cover, but in this case, make sure that the guests do, because that first hour is the most important. And then finally here, with regards to transparent property listings, we've got the matchmaking. So what the matchmaking means is that, if you're being contacted by a guest, a future guest, a potential guest, you want to make sure that your guest sales team is pushing them in the direction of the property that is the most related to them. You want to clearly define what profiles each of your guests have and make sure that they're associated with the right type of property. Next, we've got the clarity and easy access to information. So this is very simple. Again, remember that all of this is about how to get good reviews. So clarity of directions on how to get to the property. You need clear address, clear map if you've got one. Send them the Google Maps link, whatever. Make it really easy for them to get there. Easy access to check-in instructions. Okay, if you just say the keys are in the plant pot and you've got 18 plant pots, that's not really going to work. So you want to make sure that it's really clear. I know more and more of you are using guest apps or photography to show step-by-step procedures of how to find, for example, the keys or the key safe, etc. So make sure that that's really clear for them. Same with, time of arrival, etc. That needs to be at the forefront of all your communications. Guides on how to use all equipments and amenities. Well, I think a lot of us have ended up receiving a lot of messages from guests saying, I don't know how the coffee machine works. I don't know how the hot tub works. And that's something that you want to avoid. We've got more and more technology at our disposal now, to such an extent where some property managers I know have now got QR codes next to every single bit of equipment in their property. And all the guest has to do is scan the QR code to get clear instructions on how to use each equipment, which is actually something that I find really interesting. And it also avoids damage. How many guests end up not knowing how to use something and then break whatever equipment they're trying to use. Free information at guest disposal on local area. You're trying to place yourself as an expert in your field, but also an expert in your area. So you need to be able to suggest the best recommendations, and that's something that guests are going to really appreciate. I was in Malaga last week, and instantly as soon as I arrived, my property manager sent me about 15 different WhatsApps with a list of all the local restaurants, all the local bars, and that was greatly appreciated. It's kind of that extra service that we're trying to strive for here. And then again, do guests have contact details if they need any help? If they've only got the Airbnb message app, that's not going to cut it. I'm not saying be available 24/7. I'm saying make sure that if they need anything, they know that they have got a number to contact you. The property needs to be spotless. I think we should all agree on that. Dust under the couch, etc. Avoid that. Provide linen, towels, and toiletries. I know this is very much dependent on in which property in which location, in which country you operate. But I know that in a lot of countries, sometimes it's not accustomed to provide, basic amenities like toiletries and towels. Well, do that if you want good guest reviews. Avoid and anticipate wear and tear. Simply put, if you've got a wooden floor like this, well, this probably needs to be sanded down and varnished, let's say every 5 years, every 10 years if you want to stretch it. If you're not doing that, well, you're not anticipating wear and tear, and the state of your flooring and the state of your equipment isn't going to be as good. And routinely update equipment. So again, if you've got that same TV from back in 2003, guests are going to realize that, and it feels like you don't care about the property. The personal touch. So what you want is you want to pay attention to detail. So what this means is that if your property is really bland, it doesn't have any personality, and they don't feel like they're arriving into somebody's home, somebody who's got amazing taste, well, they're just going to treat it as a bland property. So that's going to increase the likelihood of damage, and also they're just not going to feel like they're anywhere special. They're just going to feel like they're in a random white cube similar to a hotel room. And we know we want to be better than hotel rooms. Provide a welcome basket. How many here provide welcome baskets? Okay, interesting. So the way that we do this is we have, for a lot of our properties, we have 3 different tiers of welcome baskets. You have the tier for the guest who's staying in a OVO network property the first time for a week. You've got the tier for an OVO network guest who's already stayed with OVO network who's staying again for a week. And then you've got people that have already stayed with OVO network and are staying again for longer than a week, so let's say 2 weeks. And what we're going to do for each of these groups is we're going to have a basket upon their arrival. So these baskets are pretty straightforward in terms of what's inside them. There'll be stuff like, yeah, okay, your salt, your pepper, your olive oil, all stuff that we should be providing anyway. But then on top of that, we're adding extra local produce. So we're in the mountains, so we've got French cheese, French wine, French baguettes, French croissants, etc., etc., etc. What that means is that the guest, upon arrival, is going to have a nice surprise, okay? We don't vent or talk about the fact that we provide this welcome basket at any point apart from, when the guests arrive, and that's a nice surprise. What was I saying earlier? The fact that the first hour, the first arrival within the property is the most important time. So that's a really nice surprise. And then finally here, reinforce the fact that the guests are staying in someone's home. If you want to avoid damage, Swickly have been talking about their solution, obviously Superhog will be talking about their solution, but I find that the best way of actually avoiding damage is making sure that your guests feel like they're in somebody's home and that somebody cares for that home, okay? What we have is we have quite a few of our owners that do the welcoming themselves to their properties, and they are always the properties that have the least amount of damage. Why is that? Because there's a respect that's being established between the owner and the guest, because the owner says, hi, welcome to my home. Effectively, he's saying, hi, don't break everything in my home. Be hospitable. Okay, I'm just going to say that a sentence that we said a lot last year, but I'll say again. We're in the hospitality industry, okay? So be hospitable, be welcoming. I'm talking to some of you French people here, Don't be a grumpy French person. I can be a grumpy French person, especially after the boat trip last night, but I'm trying not to be. Yeah, thanks, Mark. Be available. Again, so being available and being available is 2 different things. What do I mean by that? I mean that if you just give them a number, it doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to call you up every single second. And I know that some of you are scared of providing your number for that reason. Being available just means that they've got something to lean on and they feel more at peace and secure if they have got a way to contact you. Keep response times short, okay? Again, and we're going to say this in the next slide, but even if it's a problem, you don't have the answer straight away, if you see the message from your guest, answer it. And I don't care and I don't mind if the answer that you're first sending is just to say, I don't know the answer to your question, I'll get back to you. But show that you're in touch, show that your response rate is really, really quick. Be adaptable. Again, this is about going the extra mile. If somebody's asked for an early check-in, a late checkout, be adaptable. Again, this presentation is about how to get good reviews, not how to milk your guests for as much money as possible. So what I'm saying here is, if they ask to arrive 30 minutes earlier, or maybe just allow them to do so, which will increase their satisfaction, instead of saying, yeah, fine, that'll cost you 50 quid. Problem resolution. Okay, the Midas technique. This is something that I've trained all my inquiry guest sales team on. The Midas technique is make contact, investigate the problem, decide on the outcome, act on the outcome, and stay in touch. Okay, and that's really important when it comes to problem resolution. Because again, you want to address the guest issues as soon as possible. Now, this is something that we all need to do, and I've managed to train my own brain to do this, and it's really, really, really good, is that when we have a guest issue, it'd be a bit of an exaggeration to say that I'd become excited, but I definitely don't bury my head in the sand. This is an opportunity to improve my guest satisfaction. That makes absolutely no sense for most people. They go, there's a problem, therefore the guest is going to be dissatisfied. No, on the contrary, because we're all human, okay? So what that means is that we all make mistakes all the bloody time. However, if you confess the fact that you've made a mistake and you show that you're being proactive in trying to resolve the mistake, that's actually going to increase guest satisfaction. I had on the phone a guest probably 3 weeks ago. In the same day, I had him 6 times on the phone, and I never take phone calls from guests. Obviously, it's my team that does it. But this guy was threatening legal action. He was being abusive to my team on the phone. He was being horrendous. So they were really stressed, so they passed him on to me. So I had 6 conversations with this guy. The owner of the property he was staying at cancelled his stay 5 days before they were due to arrive, and it was to celebrate his wife's 60th birthday. So understandably, he's upset, okay? So he's hurling abuse at me, but in the end, he managed to calm down. We managed to talk about it. I said that I fully understood what he was saying. I said, look, we're going to find a solution. So after 6 calls, after a couple of hours, yeah, we did. We found a solution. We found him a better property for the same price. He stayed in it. At the end of his stay, he said, he gave us 5 stars out of 5 stars, 10 out of 10, 10 out of 10. He said, the customer service is the best customer service I have ever experienced. And yet he was hurling abuse at us, saying that he was going to sue us 1 week prior. So that's because we were reactive and we were willing to talk to him. And so therefore, issues, see it as an opportunity to strengthen your relationship, because if you manage to solve somebody's problem, they're going to trust you even more. Asking for reviews. So this is kind of like we're taking a step back. So we're talking about the basics on how to get good reviews. Now we're going to talk about how we ask for reviews and how the keys to obtaining more guest reviews. I think this hopefully is going to be really interesting for you. He says. Hope so. So when to ask guests to submit a review. So prior to 2022, we used to send what we call our guest questionnaire out to our guests the day after departure. However, last year at Scale Rentals, we were given some advice that proved to be not very useful to us, but it was to change the time at which we send out the review to the day before departure. And at the same time that we implemented that change, we also changed some other things. We basically changed our entire questionnaire and reworked every single question within the questionnaire. Again, my head of marketing is just there. She's the architect of this project, so definitely grab her if you want. When we made these changes, the response rate increased by 113%, which is a pretty big change. We specify within the body of the email how long it's going to take the guest to fill it in, because nobody's got time. If people don't know how to read, doing anything that's going to take them more than 3 minutes is going to be an absolute catastrophe for them. So, specify that it's only going to take 3 minutes. And then people love interacting with things. So, in the body of the email, what we did is we added a 5-star interactive button that people could click on. All that does, when they click on it, is take them to the guest questionnaire in the same way that a button saying, fill in our guest questionnaire would do. However, there's an engagement thing here that has really worked. Okay, and now we're getting to the fine details. So, we split our questionnaire into 2. So there's a quick response and then there's a longer response. The quick response is basically what takes 3 minutes, and then if guests are feeling engaged, if they're feeling positive, and if they want to, they can then complete a further longer response. So let's just quickly run through this. So, the first question of the quick response is rate the property out of 5 stars. Very basic. Why did you select this score? They can give more information if they want to or not, and again, it's optional. Please leave a review of the property's name for our website if you wish. So this is the public review. This is the review that we use on the website itself. How likely are you to recommend OVO Network? So that's what we call a net promoter score. So that'll be a score from 0 to 10. What you want is you want to make sure that all people, whether it's owners or guests or whoever that you ask the net promoter score questions to, you want to make sure that they score you at either a 9 or a 10, because that means that they're going to start talking about you to their friends. And then, would you like to answer a few more questions to help us improve our service? If they click no, done. That's it. They've finished, okay? That means that they can go back to their lives, whatever. We've got this information, however, because one thing that we realized is there was a huge abandonment rate. So in our previous questionnaire, people would start the questionnaire and then they'd go halfway through and go, well, it's too bloody long, isn't it? And go away. And we'd never collect that data. So there's basically an early opt-out here for them to effectively stop doing the questionnaire. However, if they want to continue the questionnaire, they arrive to the long response. What we do is we say, what activities did you enjoy? And you get a list here of what activities they enjoyed. the purpose of their stay, whether it was leisure, visiting friends or family, business, age of the children, blah, 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 blah. How many times have you booked with us? First time, 2 to 4 times, 5 to 9 times, 10 plus times. Now, I don't know how many of you are data nerds as much as we are, but like this is really, really, really valuable stuff to us because it allows us to basically tailor make all these different holidays and all these different packages with regards to who our client base actually is. Remember, it's really important to know who your client is. Then we continue, and this is like loads of like smaller questions where we just ask for 5-star ratings. So, because again, if you ask for 1 and they give you 1 response and they say 4 stars, that doesn't give us as much about, okay, in the detail, what was actually excellent, what wasn't as good. So property cleanliness, value for money, booking experience, welcome and support. So, here, if the welcome and support is 1 star, but everything is 5-star, well, we go to the person that's the resort manager and we say, look, these guests enjoyed their stay, they enjoyed the property, however, they had a problem with you, did you know what happened? And that's, again, really valuable information that we try and collect. And then, it's called the longer response, so there's a lot of questions. On arrival, did the property meet your expectations? If they say no, again, huge problem. And remember that whatever the answer is to these questions, usually if they're no, well, there's an actionable point off the back of the response to say, okay, well, let's improve this because, again, quality is key for OVO Network, and we want to make sure that the quality of our properties is always really, really high. Would you stay in the property again? So, what I've been told by certain of our resort managers is that the best compliment, that like key North Star metric, is that they want to, upon checkout, give the keys back, take the keys back from the guests, and the key compliment that they can have is for the guest to say, thank you so much for our stay, it was perfect, I'll see you again next year. That is the best possible outcome ever. Did you have any contact with someone from the OVO Network team? So that can be, before booking, after booking, post-departure, whatever. Would you like to sign up to our newsletter? That's just an opt-in. And then hopefully you'll like this one. Would you like to receive any information about how we can help you find, finance, and run your chalet? Okay, so what are we doing here? We're trying to convert our guests into owners because 60% of our current owners stayed with us before becoming owners. So what that means is that if they say, yes, I'd like to opt in, they then go from guest to owner sale, and we can start working on them as a owner lead. Again, fantastic. Make sure to respond to bad reviews, really important. If you just have only good reviews and then loads of bad reviews and there's no response, no one defending your side of the story, well, that's a mistake. Make sure that you're really quick to respond to bad reviews. And display all reviews. This is something that we don't even do on our direct website, but Christoph claims that it does a huge amount of positive work to basically promote trust. Because if you're going to a direct website, that means that it's not Airbnb, Booking.com or Vrbo. There's going to be an element of trust where the guest is like, can I spend 5,000 euros to book with these people that I've never heard of? Well, if you've only got reviews saying, the property was perfect, the experience was amazing, we loved it, and nothing ever that's like slightly negative, well, that's not going to inspire trust. However, if you show that somebody's saying, yeah, it was amazing, but however, be aware that the road is very close to the property, well, that just shows that we're being transparent, and that's something that's going to help you. Now, final sector, the importance of your offering. So this is more the reality of things, and this is kind of the secret sauce of how OVO Network manages to get such high value booking ratings. So I've identified that there's 4 different types of property tiers. I don't know if you all agree with me, but this is definitely the way that I see it. So we've got basic, mid-range, high-end, and luxury. Basic is affordable, basic amenities, often without extras. Who feels that they provide basic properties? Oh, everyone respects themselves a lot. Okay, great, thank you. Basic is cool, it's cheap. Mid-range, anyone feels like they fit into the mid-range category? Yep, okay, fair few people. High end, so higher quality features, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, okay. And then luxury. Okay, cool. We've got a good amount. Basic and luxury. Damn, that's cool. Okay, so basically what I've found is that the expectations on either end of this are really high. So and I know this because basically a lot of our complaints and a lot of our guest issues and a lot of our bad reviews happen either when the guest has paid 500 euros for their stay, or when they've paid 25,000 euros for their stay. That's when the expectations are higher. OVO Network falls into the high-end category, and what you'll find is that this is a price range of, let's say, around on average, I don't know, 3,000 to 4,000 euros. Well, there's kind of like there's the people that have got enough income to basically come and stay at your property, and it's not as much as an investment to them with regards to the expendable revenue that they have, for them to then uphold you with really, really high criteria. Luxury is probably the worst in my opinion, because the expectations are so high for every single last thing to be perfect, which is really hard. So how to get great reviews? This is a great chart. The secret of basketball is that it's not about basketball. The secret about exceptional guest reviews is that it's not actually about guest reviews. It's about only working with properties that will only generate 5-star reviews. And that's effectively the stance that we've taken, is that we'll only ever work with a property or with an owner if we can see that the owner's expectations and the property itself align with our mantra, which is quality, 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 and making sure that those properties can generate those perfect reviews. Thank you very much.